The New Patriotic Party has undergone a very serious exercise of accepting 54 motions out of 56 motions for the amendment of its constitution. We've caught up with a former youth organizer, former national organizer, and a member of parliament for Ekuape North, Sammy Awuku, to pick his views on some of the amendments. But before we do that, you were in Ablekuma North. You witnessed everything that happened. And today we saw something in Parliament where the minority had to walk out of the swearing in of the MP. Why do you have to stage a walkout? I mean, she's gone through an election. There was violence. You can't. You don't have evidence to tie her to the violence. Why do you have to walk out?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having it. We clearly believe that she's a product of a violent elections that left people maimed, that left people traumatized, and also that left us people severely beaten. The noisy silence of the law enforcement agencies gives us the impression that these operatives and those who acted in that manner, it gives us an impression that they had a tacit endorsement of government. Why? Because it is very strange that not a single act of condemnation had come from the quarters of the presidency. That
The vice president has condemned.
well, we expect Mr. Mahama to do better. Again, we believe that the leadership of the NDC should also have also completely condemned them. When it happened, when the IOS was that they keep referring to happen, President Akufo-Addo set up a committee, a commission of inquiry. And since that, look, before IOS West by-elections, we had that of Chereponi under the NDC, which was violent. Menfi West, which was violent. Talensi by-election, which was also violent. Metiwa, Kwetia, and all those elections. The fast forward, then NPP also gets into government. This culture of retaliation and all produced Ayawaso West by-elections. President Akufo-Addo, in his wisdom, in the wisdom of government at that time, constituted that commission of inquiry with a distinguished judge, Henrietta Mensah Bonsu of the Supreme Court, being on the panel, former IGP Patrick Kwati Champon being on the panel, Professor Kofi Abochi, law lecturer, also secretary to that commission. Afterwards, one of the recommendations was that we pass an anti-vigilantism act. The NPP saw through the motions, and eventually the president gave his assent. The National Peace Council conducted several engagements between these two parties for us to sign on to that. The NPP did this part of the bargain. We consented to it and committed to it, disbanded all these groups. On hindsight, many people even believe that the NPP should not have listened to the Peace Council, because today they've been also very quiet and very silent about these developments in Ablekuma North. We are also surprised that the police administration, despite the publication of these faces across the country, they have not even been able to even arrest one out of the many.
And what is a walkout supposed to achieve?
Well, we believe that the NDC's candidate who was on the ballot, the elections that produced her victory is a tainted victory. And we believe that is an election that really had blood on the hands of even the organizers of the polls. And it's the principle we were raising, not just her person or not her person, but the principle of that we don't want to be party to an association or an alliance that was tainted with blood.
You're going to be with her in Parliament at least for the next 3.5 years. What is going to be the minorities' attitude towards her? Are you always going to stage a walkout when she's doing her parliamentary business on the floor?
Today, the minority made a statement through its walkout that we believe that a lot must be done to arrest these perpetrators and bring this violent conduct to book. This was just 19 polling stations. In Akwetia, we're going to have a large-scale election. And if we do not nip these things in the bud, it makes it difficult for the NPP to also continue to convince our supporters that let's still continue to trust in the state security apparatus. That is the difficulty that the leadership of the NPP and for us as members of parliament continue to have with the support base of the party.
Let's get to the party's delegates conference. In the aftermath of it, I mean, you're from the Eastern region. Delegates came from the Eastern region and specifically from your constituency. What has been the sort of feedback you received so far? Has it achieved certain, even unintended purposes?
Well, I think it's energized the base of the party. Let me be very honest with you. Some of us really knew that it was going to be a successful conference, but I think that day was beyond successful. Let me commend the leadership of the New Patriotic Party, the acting chairman, the general secretary, the organizer, the youth leader, the national coordinator, and the rest of the team for putting together a spectacular event. It was orderly. The security-wise was on point. The production that day, it wasn't a busy podium where you normally will have people getting in and out of it. The ambience, the atmosphere was also charged. So you could clearly see that the delegates were happy to once again bond, reach out to each other, give each other a hug, and then with the determination that we were down, but we were not out, and we are not out, and looking forward to 2028. As a political party, you lose an election, you win an election. When you lose, you dust off, you get ready again to begin another culture and journey. The feedback I get from my executives who were part of the event, and that of some delegates I've interacted with, were that of excitement. They were ecstatic, and they were happy to have been part of the conference. They were also satisfied with the resolutions passed as well, as well as that of the amendment proposals that were put before them, and they believe that it's sound. And
we'll come to the specifics of that, but has it ended there since they went back home? Have they got back to you if since have changed? Have they been able to use the momentum, as you say, that they've gathered from here to do anything back home?
They have, and many of them believe that with hard work and determination, 2028 is possible. And I'm excited that they have a positive mindset looking into the future. The next few months, obviously, I expect it to be turbulent. And I'm saying this with all caution because you have political candidates. The party obviously is preparing to have its presidential primaries and to select or elect a new leader to lead us into 2028. And it's a choice that we have to make. I always say, I am clear in my mind, I'm fortified in my belief that Dr. Bawumia will make a good president and that we should support him to make it. Others will disagree with me. It's a question of choice.
Albeit successful, and particularly, as you've mentioned, Dr. Bawumia, some believe that the optics were skewed in the favor of Dr. Bawumia. He was the only person allowed to go to the podium out of those who have given an indication of contesting. And they believe, particularly the team of Kennedy Japan, says that it was skewed or tilted to give him a certain advantage.
Well, I'm not too sure. I've been part of this party's processes for some time. I spent over 11 and a half years at the party's headquarters, even as a young man, from Deputy Communications Director to National Youth Leader to National Organizer. What I do know is post every election at the next National Annual Delegates Conference, the immediate past presidential candidate is allowed to also say some few words and also to thank party people who were with him in the trenches. He was on the ballot. So even though he's a former presidential candidate, we didn't have the two former presidents around. And your immediate past presidential candidate and former vice president, in all fairness and honesty, the fact that there's an impending election doesn't negate the fact that he was once a vice president, and it doesn't negate the fact that he was once your presidential candidate in the immediate past election. As to it being skewed and of this, I'm not too sure, because all the candidates were also mentioned in loud manner by the organizer as well. So by the MC, and also acknowledged their presence. I also saw the entry of these various aspirants as well. And some of them also even met these delegates the night before.
Maybe the gestures, it pushed to them that, well, this was something he knew was going to do. And his team perhaps planned it. I mean, he did a loved symbol. He did "We Are Together" symbol.
You're against the love symbol?
I'm not against it, but I'm saying that
the togetherness symbol.
No, I'm saying that because he's going to read his speech. Why not walk and go and read the speech?
One of the things that the party was looking at that day was unity in rebuilding, rebuilding our party in unity and also our values and all. So any gesture that promoted peace, unity, togetherness, for me, was a good one. And I believe that I've heard the other aspirants, the Honorable Kennedy Japan, also speaking about the party's rank and file unifying. I've heard the Honorable Kwabene Eje Japan engineer. I've heard that of Dr. Yawase Duchum, all speaking about love, unity, and togetherness. So maybe what Dr. Baumia did was not just to also talk about it, but also demonstrated it and did showcase the gestures. And I think it was a good one. I'm not too sure which of his team members planned it, but I'm not convinced that anything of that was planned.
54 out of 66 motions were accepted. Let's begin with those which were.
Before I even come to that, respectfully, I would like to use your platform to make a call. I've been a youth leader before. I've been a national organizer before. Winning an election is not an easy task, and the NPP must rally round the flag. If you are supporting Dr. Baumia, promote his values, what he has for the party base and the Ghanaian people, and also his proven track record and why we should vote for him. If you're supporting the Honorable Kennedy Japan, tell us what Kentu can do, espouse his values, his strength as well, and what the plans that he has as well for the party base and the Ghanaian people. If you're supporting Kwabene Japan, do the same. If you're supporting Dr. Duchum, do the same. I do not subscribe, and it's a personal conviction. I do not subscribe that we have to deliberately weigh somebody down, smear the candidate before you can project your candidate. That is not a brainer, because it's an internal contest. When we win, we must come together in unity to fight this formidable opponent that is ruthless to the extent that even institutions of state stand at risk of being undermined by this current government. And so the NPP, we need every arm, every leg, every limb, every ear, eye, nose, every part of the human body put together. And this is a passionate appeal. And I'm saying
Dr. Baumia made a similar appeal, but can this be beyond the appeal? How can it be enforced? He actually even said the party should crack the whip if need be.
Yes, that is why I'm saying that the party too must be firm on these matters. If any of us go wrong, the party should be tough on any of us as well. Because look, when we are done, we have to reach out. I'm supporting Baumia, I've told you. In the event, in the unlikely event that my candidate of choice, Dr. Baumia, does not emerge flag bearer, I have to also work with the other candidate and his team that won. And the same goes to the other candidates as well. If the candidate that you are also supporting doesn't make it, remember we have a party called the NPP that has elected a new candidate. It must also now come on board for us to work for an NPP and Ghanaian victory. So that is why this is very passionate to me. I don't think it's a brainer for us to be attacking ourselves. I don't think it's a brainer for us to be deliberate in weighing anybody down, smearing the person. Because whatever we are saying in this process is what your opponent will package and then also sell to attack your candidate when eventually the person emerges. So this is a passionate appeal. Now to your...
Let's get to the specifics of the motions. Yeah. The youth age limit of 35. I mean, there was unanimous, and even before the Frank Davis, who's the chairman of the amendment committee and director of legal affairs, even had a hard time reading out the motion. But 35 years is the international age limit that has been used in defining who a youth is. Why won't a party that is trying to be current, progressive, align with such international standard?
Well, we will get there. But for me, as a former youth leader, I think the 39 is okay. You still have strong people committed serving as your youth leaders, 36, 37, 38, 39, still have fire in their belly, and these are versatile people on the ground. I think that asking that we reduce it from 39 to 35, for me, adds nothing, because it still doesn't reduce the 18. Because if you are 18, you reach the voting age.
If you care to share, what age were you when you became youth organizer?
That's a good one. I think that I was just around 30 or so.
And you're one of the vibrant youth organizers that the NPP has seen. There are those who believe that at that age, close to 40, some of the persons who will fill that position may lose touch with the many young people. So why not get somebody who is actually within their age bracket?
I was lucky to have served as youth leader at a very young age. Yes, I was dynamic, and I, together with my colleagues, we produced a president and an NPP victory in 2016 with a considerable level of mobilization across the country. That doesn't mean that those who were 36, 37, 38 did not also help guide me in that process. My sense is that if it's not broken, you don't fix it. And that's why I keep saying that, yes, it can be 38, 39, but also can still help you on the ground. It's up to the party delegates to decide whether they should elect a 35-year-old, a 34-year-old, a 30-year-old, 38-year-old. It's a decision for the party.
We've seen that within the amendment.
So I'm happy it was shut down in the 39, but I personally voted against it.
We've seen that there's a motion to state who the leader of the party is, the national chairman. Is it that the NPP has always been leaderless, or is it just a matter of not being in blue?
I think it's been, let me tell you, it's been the, I want to choose my words well, but this is a party where people normally say it's a book-long party. It's a party that the language is always key in the constitution of the party. The NPP always avoided the use of a leader in the party's constitution. So we have reached a stage where we believe that we have to draw the distinction. Who is a presidential candidate and who is the leader of the party? Let me be honest with you. The presidential candidate is elected for just the election. He doesn't have a 4-year tenure. He's not part of the party structures. So if he's elected 18 months to the general elections, that 18 months, he is the presidential candidate. And if you are in opposition, the leader of the opposition, as far as the contest is concerned. If you go into a general elections and you win, you climb up the stairs to become president of the republic. Secondly, if you are elected national chairman, you have a 4-year term, unlike the presidential candidate. So we are currently in a state where the former presidential candidate is no longer the leader of the party, because there's no general election this year. The national chairman, because the constitution does not expressly state that he's the leader of the party, is also then going to have difficulties as to which calls to which shot to call and which one he cannot call. So I think that the distinction for me is apt.
But something that goes without saying, that the national chairman is the leader of the party.
Well, so then you have to state it if you are doing the distinction. And one of the other amendment that also came up was also removing the president from the steering committee. I think many people did not understand it. For me, I don't think it's a bad decision. The president always also gets to hear what is happening. This is particularly so. My experience at the party headquarters, and it's not a fault of President Akufo-Addo. Let me be very honest with you. When I served as youth leader, when I served as national organizer, when we were in opposition, it was a different matter. Because at that time, the presidential candidate had time to always be attending steering committee. In government, Nana Addo also made time to be attended. But the difficulty that most of the time we had at steering committee was that you always had to look at the schedule of the president to plan steering committee, and can sometimes even delay the calling of these meetings.
So it's not a matter of a power clash, because it seems as though the removal of the president is to avoid a power clash.
That's not how I saw it. This is personally from my observation, and unbiased observation and experience.
I think it's more to give that latitude to the steering
party,
committee.
latitude and the effective running of the party. Mind you, the steering committee are the managers of the party, the day-to-day running of the party. The president, when we are in office, becomes a member of NEC and National Council. When he's a presidential candidate as well, he's a member of the NEC and Council. Steering committee acts on the recommendations and the orders of NEC. Whatever steering committee is doing is implementing decisions of NEC and Council.
But do NEC and Council always give the how?
Yes. They always provide clarity and direction as to what.
So there's little discretion to steering committee.
Even the implementation, steering committee must then tease out how to go about it. But clearly the orders are always given. I don't see this as an attack on a presidential candidate or a future president. But I believe that if you want the party to be able to run effectively, the party should be able to be clear and distinct from government.
But there are those who put the question about the practicality of this, not necessarily relating to the steering committee, but creating who the leader is. I mean, it also boils down to personality. Yeah. I mean, if you have a presidential candidate like Nana Akufo-Addo, everybody knows him, and an organizer himself, he's very strong on his convictions. Yeah. It will be difficult to say that somebody is a leader ahead of him.
Well, but the laws does not take retrospective effect. We are moving on, yeah, and that is why you're talking about a post-Nana Addo era as well.
But the scenario is that if you have a candidate like Nana Addo.
But clearly, the party's constitution is supreme, and if the party clearly designates that the national chairman is the leader of the party, is the leader of the party, until otherwise also decided by the party.
But what really can you do to a presidential candidate who, despite the constitution stating that the national chairman is the leader, but chooses to act as the leader?
You can't choose to act. It is a party of laws.
More political power, more.
I don't disagree with you on that. But what I'm saying is that the party is a machinery. The running of the party is an organization. The presidential candidate is elected to serve on the party's architecture and lead you into an election. He can be elected a year before election. He can be elected 18 months before election. He is elected for a purpose, and that is for the impending elections. When the elections are done, he is no longer the presidential candidate. If he wins, he climbs to become president. If he doesn't, the national chairman still continue to run the party until the party chooses another leader for you to come and help lead us into an election.
I seem to be getting from you that in practice, it may get to a point where the national chairman will have to give way for the presidential candidate to take charge.
Well, not to take charge, but when he's elected, he's the one who is leading us into the election. The national chairman is not the opposition leader when you are in opposition. The national chairman is the leader of your party. The opposition leader is the voice of the minority and opposition, whilst the biggest the largest minority party is in opposition.
Now, talking about organization, we've seen attempts to increase the polling station executives to 7. Now have an electoral area executive committee, contrasted to the electoral area coordinator. As somebody who's been a national organizer of the party before, how important are these increments to the organizational capabilities of the party?
Well, I think these are significant increment, and it's a good direction for the party to take, as it giving many more people an opportunity to be part of the decision-making process and also the running of the party. That's even more important for me, the running of the party too at the base. You can elect a coordinator who doesn't even live there sometimes by issue of jobs, transfer, and all. So when it's just one person running an entire electoral area, it can be problematic. But where it's a committee, you have a chairman, you have a secretary, you have an organizer, you have this in an electoral area. At least at every point in time, you have somebody you want to talk to, somebody that you want to get to address your concerns. Another example is at the polling station level. We're increasing it to add additional tools for them to look at our issue of elections, research, and all those things, communication and all. So I think these additions are good. The party, from what I get from the recommendations of the Constitution Review Committee, is the party working towards I repeat, working towards a 1-1 vote, one man, one vote in future. So these are good steps to be taken and working towards a broader vision.
But talking about organization, we know that sometimes those at the top, they have officers that they deal with. They have their base that they deal with. And do they always deal with the constituency executives, electoral area executives, polling station executives?
I'm not too sure what your question is.
So my question is that as national organizer, when you had to do something in an electoral area, did you always use the electoral area coordinator, or you had your own boys who you trust to do some of these things for you?
The structures of the party. You work with the region, the constituency, the electoral area, and the polling station. One of the things that you also must do is always to cross-check whatever information is coming to you. Apart from me then being an organizer working with the structures, I always had people to that whatever information you give me from the constituency, I get somebody to also double-check for me.
So from your experience, there's no issue of you've increased, but then the upper structure may not even use them?
Oh, they will use them, but I will urge the upper structure to also sometimes cross-check the information they get from the ground. The information can be skewed.
Do you have any practical examples?
I do have a lot of these practical examples, and I have shared with my colleagues who took over from me. Because sometimes you can send somebody to go do a specific job for you in a constituency. The constituency to, organizer, then we'll get our polling station people to do it. You have to make sure that the monitoring and feedback is always effective. And I don't like surprises, so I always make sure I tick all the boxes. I don't walk into a meeting without knowing the agenda.
Having a casual look at the motions, it's looking like the party is saying that we have not been dealing with our parliamentary caucus very well in time past, and we need to strategize on how to maximize the skill base with the parliamentary caucus. During your time as national organizer and youth organizer, what was the sort of relationship between the party and the parliamentary caucus?
Well, I think it was good. It was good. We had cordial, great relationship with the parliamentary party. But the biggest room in the world is a room for improvement. So anything that a party seeks to do to improve upon its relations with the parliamentary party, it's always a good move for me.
But you didn't have any thought to say that we have good skills in parliament that the party seemed not to be tapping into at that time?
I didn't get that experience.
Because I'm asking this question because there's a motion which has been accepted for members of parliament in their regions to be part of the steering committee at that regional level. And the steering committee, as you've explained, it takes care of the day-to-day administration of the party. Why are you bringing in these motions?
It's for greater participation, because the members of parliament were always part of the regional executive committee. If the party in its wisdom believed that there should be greater participation, and mind you, these amendment proposals also came after our defeat. So the party too must look at the times we are in to adapt. If post-2028 we win the elections, the party believes that we need to also do some minor surgery as far as our constitution is concerned, the party will take that decision. We did look at the times, and you adapt to the times you are in to quickly resolve a matter and to also prosecute a campaign.
There's an increment in the number of representation at NEC from 1 to 3. Is that enough?
It's an improvement upon the 1, so I don't think it's a bad one.
But practically, let's look at this. Members of parliament, you're supposed to be in parliament. You're supposed to be in your constituency doing parliamentary duty. Will you get enough time for party duties as the constitution seems to be increasing your role at that level?
Well, we need to make the time. Mind you, we are also elected representatives of the party, apart from our constituents. Our party also elected us at the constituency level at the primaries for us to represent the party in the general election. So it's the vehicle that you used to parliament was NPP vehicle. So as much as possible, you also have to give back to the party at the time that the party needs us in its elaborate reorganization effort. So we have to make the time. If you don't make the time will never come.
Finally, what will you say to those who say the NPP seem to be going ahead of itself? You've lost an election 6 months into the lost. I mean, you're thinking about how to recapture political power. There are those who believe that you seem not to be doing some more introspection and be talking to Ghanaians to reconsider the NPP, but you're hurriedly seeking to close certain holes that you think led to your defeat.
Well, we are doing two things. One, we are reorganizing ourselves into shaping the narrative out there. It's important that as a party we also do an introspection. That introspection came with the Okwe Committee report and why we lost. Based on that, you had a Constitutional Review Committee to look at the feedback that came through the Okwe Committee's report to make recommendations for conference to also consider. And it is important that once these recommendations are accepted and conference adopted, the party then rolls out with this implementation. I don't think we are getting ahead of ourselves, because in about a year, you'll be preparing towards another elections of a district level elections and all. And so if the party's machinery is not in proper shape and form, it makes it very difficult for us. So I honestly think that with what I have seen, the enthusiasm that I have seen, all I just pray is the party is able to go through the next 6 months of, I tell you, it's going to be turbulent times, because the contest for power and leadership is always fraught with some level of acrimony. I believe that we can pipe down this acrimony, and all the aspirants owe it as a duty to the NPP brand and as a political party to make sure that they also engage their supporters. And I support Dr. Bawumia out of conviction, and I believe that looking at the historical narrative of our country, where every presidential candidate, you feel the person for the first time, is about a face recognition, name recognition. So that is why normally and hardly do you see anybody going for the first time and winning, apart from, I think, maybe President Rawlings. But under the Fourth Republican rule, it's followed a successive trend. Mind you, President Rawlings transitioned from a military ruler into civilian. The NPP boycotted the presidential elections in 1992. So obviously there was, the parliamentary, yes. And clearly, if you look at the kind of politics that Rawlings' era played, so he came through, fast forward. President Kufuor had to be fielded twice for him to win. Nana had to be fielded about 3 times. President Mahama was lucky. Mills died 6 months to elections. They played funeral songs throughout, with the mood of the country. Even at a point, there was a video where Professor Mills was going to heaven and waving at Ghanaians and telling us that he's leaving with us his son. So a whole emotional campaign. So when you're heavy campaign, people are not listening. They are playing funeral songs. Fast forward, President Mahama goes through. The actual election that he had to face was 2016. That time, Nana Addo too, the face recognition and the name recognition worked for Nana Addo. President Mahama comes again, the face and the name recognition. Anybody who was voting for the fourth time in 2024 was seeing the face of Mahama, President Mahama, for the fourth time, 2012, 2016, 2020, 2024. So you'll be tempted to believe this guy, let me even try him this time around. And that has been the mindset. I'm not saying that this mindset is sacrosanct, no, but that has been the trend in the analysis. I believe that Dr. Bawumia was unlucky in 2024. I'm convinced that if we support him with the right mindset and attitude and campaign well, campaign hard, Ghanaians will consider him favorably on the scale in 2028. This is my choice. That doesn't mean that if the NPP delegate Congress, it's Congress that elects presidential candidate. If the delegate Congress and Electoral College elects another candidate other than Dr. Bawumia, it doesn't mean I won't support that person. I'll work hard for that person. That shows I'm a true party person. And that is why I find it weird that sometimes when I read some of the comments on social media, that you can have somebody who is a good supporter of another aspirant saying that if my candidate doesn't win, then I won't support the eventual winner. That is unpatriotic. That means that you don't believe in even the values of our party. That is anti-party behavior, and that is anti-party too in our constitution. Yes, where you need to uphold decisions of the various decision-making bodies of our party. So me, I wish the candidates well when they decide to pick nomination forms. I believe that let the contest be fair, let the contest be good, and I'm happy that the youth of our party are working for various candidates. You know why? And also the other groups within our party. It offers out the various aspirants an opportunity to make use of the talents within the NPP and to build upon their CVs, to build upon their campaign reasoning and all. I have been lucky to have been trained. The NPP, when I served as a youth organizer and organizer, gave me an opportunity and travels to learn from how the Republicans campaign and strategize in the US. The NPP gave me an opportunity to learn from the Conservative Party, several training programs that the party sponsored me to undertake, how the Conservatives campaign and how they strategize, how Angela Merkel's CDU also strategizes and campaign. And I was also taken to China, the Communist Party, to also learn from them, and all this was through the support of the party. So I believe that when other colleagues of mine are also now helping other candidates, bringing their know-how and expertise to bear, it gladdens my heart because then we are improving upon our party's campaign to the base. Because at the end of the day, if all of us should come together and support the eventual winner with our know-how, expertise, our ideas and research and all, it strengthens the party and gives us a best shot.
Thank you very much.